Eternity's Shadows, The Haunting Chronicles, Episode 5, The Double's Smile. The apartment felt eerily quiet, as if it were holding its breath in dread. Shadows stretched across the walls, long and unsettling, like twisted fingers reaching out. Alex stood in the living room, his heart pounding fiercely in his chest, loud like a drum echoing through a silent hall. Lily stood beside him, her small hand trembling as it gripped his tightly with unwavering resolve. Her breathing came quick and uneven. She was deeply frightened, and he felt the same terror gnawing at him inside. The air hung heavy, thick with a dark presence, like a storm poised to unleash chaos. Then a laugh pierced the silence sharply. It drifted from the kitchen, loud, bright, and chilling, like ice splintering apart. It matched Lily's laugh perfectly, the one he cherished. But Lily remained here, next to him, silent and still. Her face paled, her wide eyes staring up at him in panic. "That's not me," she whispered, her voice faint and shaky, barely audible. Alex turned slowly toward the kitchen, his stomach twisting with unease. The laugh grew louder, sharper, resonating in his mind like a haunting melody. Something lurked there in the darkness. Something mimicked her, stealing her voice. Something wore her face like a cruel disguise. Morning arrived, but it didn't feel like a proper morning with peace and light. The sun outside glowed faintly, shrouded by thick, ominous clouds that blocked its warmth. Alex sat at the table, his hands quivering slightly from cold and exhaustion. Lily entered with a plate of bread and eggs, her footsteps soft against the sticky floorboards. She placed it gently before him, offering comfort in her careful manner. "Please eat," she said, her voice gentle and soothing, despite the strain in her eyes. She managed a small smile, though it flickered with tension. Alex admired that about her. She strove to maintain normalcy against all odds. Even as ghosts unraveled their world, she remained his beacon amid the endless gloom. He reached for the bread, his fingers brushing its warm crust. It felt fresh at first, a gift from her hands, but then it transformed swiftly. It blackened, decaying in his grasp as if cursed, rot spreading like ink across its surface. Mold emerged, green and fuzzy, crawling over it like a plague. The eggs spoiled too, reeking of death, a stench like a corpse festering in the sun. Alex dropped the plate hastily, his hands trembling more intensely now. It shattered against the floor, breaking into jagged fragments that scattered everywhere. Lily flinched back, a soft gasp escaping her lips. The lights overhead flickered wildly, on, off, like a frantic pulse. A harsh buzz droned through the room, grating on his nerves. Alex rose quickly, his chair scraping loudly against the wood. "It's them," he said, his voice rough and worn from countless sleepless nights. Lily nodded, her eyes widening with realization. "The ghosts have returned," she murmured, her words trembling with dread. He peered out the window, and his stomach knotted tightly with horror. The city roared with chaos. Screams and crashes erupted outside like a battlefield unleashed. People darted through the streets, but they no longer appeared human, warped by some malevolent force. Some bore two faces, one grinning unnaturally wide, the other shrieking silently in torment. Others had no eyes, just hollow black sockets staring blankly ahead. Ghostly doubles swarmed the scene, spreading anarchy everywhere. A man bellowed and swung a pipe at his companion, his expression contorted with rage. Blood sprayed onto the pavement, red and glistening, pooling beneath their feet. A woman clawed at her arms, laughing hysterically one moment, weeping the next, her nails carving bloody streaks into her flesh. The air outside reeked of blood and terror, a sharp, bitter scent that stung his nostrils. Life had vanished from its usual rhythm. No work, no school, no tranquil moments welcomed them anymore. It had transformed into a slaughterhouse, steeped in death and despair. The ghosts twisted everyone against each other, orchestrating a nightmare they couldn't escape. Inside, the lights extinguished completely, plunging the room into murky shadows. A frigid breeze slipped in, chilling his skin through his shirt. The windows remained closed, yet the icy air seeped through regardless, brushing his arms with an ethereal touch. Lily seized his arm firmly, her fingers pressing hard into his sleeve. "We're not safe here anymore," she said, her voice wavering but her hold steadfast. A loud crash echoed from the kitchen, as if a stack of dishes had collapsed. Glass shattered, clinking across the floor like a grim warning. Then that laugh resounded again. Lily's laugh, but distorted, too cheerful and too cold for her tender spirit. Alex's insides churned, a sick dread swelling within him. "Please stay here," he told her, stepping forward with his pulse racing fiercely. Lily pulled him back swiftly, her strength surprising for her slight frame. "No chance," she declared resolutely. "I'm staying with you, whatever happens." Her love glowed through her fear, fierce and genuine like a flame piercing the dark. It eased his isolation, lending him courage. He advanced toward the kitchen cautiously, his boots adhering to the floor with each step. It glistened wet now, red liquid, blood, welled up through the wood, warm and slick beneath his feet. It flowed as if alive, inching toward him with purpose. Alex held his breath, his chest constricting with mounting anxiety. The laugh ceased abruptly, leaving a heavy, oppressive silence in its wake. A figure loomed by the sink, motionless and unnatural. It resembled Lily. Same dark hair cascading over her shoulders, same blue shirt she adored, same delicate hands he'd clasped countless times. But its smile twisted grotesquely, too broad, too sharp, like a predator's leer that didn't belong on her face. It pivoted toward him slowly, fluid as a shadow shifting. Its eyes shone black, bottomless pits that devoured all light. "Alex," it purred in Lily's sweet tone, soft and familiar. "Come eat with me." The words sounded inviting, yet they rang hollow, lifeless, like a voice echoing from a tomb. A cold shiver raced down his spine, prickling his skin. Alex retreated quickly, his boots slipping slightly on the bloody floor. The thing's smile widened further, revealing teeth like jagged little blades that glinted faintly. Lily, the true Lily, dashed in behind him, her footsteps rapid and urgent. She spotted it and froze, her breath catching in her throat. "That's not me!" she cried, her voice shrill and quaking with fear. The double laughed again, a harsh sound like glass splintering on stone, grating against his ears. Heavy footfalls thudded behind him. Jason and Mark burst in, breathless and alert. Jason clutched his bat tightly, his knuckles whitening with strain. Mark brandished his small knife, poised to strike, his jaw clenched firmly. Their faces appeared grimy, etched with weariness from relentless combat. They gaped at the double, their eyes bulging in disbelief. "What is that creature doing here?" Jason demanded, his voice loud and breaking with alarm. He thrust his bat toward it, pointing accusingly. "Alex, this is your fault. You touched that cursed stone, and now we're trapped in this chaos." His words struck like blows, laden with bitter blame that cut deeply. Alex's chest tightened, guilt gnawing at his core. "I never intended for this to happen," he said, his throat thick with regret. "I locked it away. I believed it was finished permanently." He balled his fists, yearning to undo that fateful decision. Mark stepped forward, positioning himself between them like a barrier. "Be quiet, Jason," he barked, his voice steady and authoritative like a fortress standing firm. "Alex battles these things daily. You're merely complaining instead of assisting." Jason's face flushed with fury. "He's losing control," he roared, his voice escalating. "Look outside. People are dying because of him. We're next in line. Mark pushed him back firmly, his hands strong and assured. We stand united, he insisted, his gaze fierce and unyielding. No fleeing from this. He turned to Alex, his tone softening. We've got your support, he said quietly. Alex nodded, a surge of gratitude warming him. Mark's resolve bolstered them when everything threatened to crumble. The double glided forward then, advancing toward Alex with a slow, eerie grace. Its massive smile remained fixed, unyielding on its face. It mirrored Lily too perfectly, too painfully. Alex's heart ached, torn between dread and a fleeting hope. Then it committed a horrifying act. It leaned in and kissed him, its lips frigid as ice, tasting of damp earth and stale blood. Alex shoved it away forcefully, wiping his mouth frantically with his sleeve. His skin crawled where it had touched him, a lingering filth he couldn't erase. Lily, the real one, gasped softly, her eyes brimming with tears. "Alex," she whispered, hastening to his side. Her warm hands cradled his face tenderly. "That's not me," she said, her voice quivering yet certain. "You know it's not, don't you?" Her love enveloped him like a shield, banishing the chill that clung to him. Jason dropped his bat with a loud clatter, the sound reverberating in the tense air. "This is beyond comprehension," he shouted, raking a hand through his sweaty hair. "That thing wears her face. How do we even discern who's genuine anymore?" His voice trembled with rising panic. He'd lost faith in them all. Mark retrieved the bat and thrust it back into Jason's hands decisively. "Enough," he growled, his tone sharp and resolute. "We know Lily. We know Alex. That suffices." But Jason shook his head, eyes darting nervously. "It's too bizarre," he muttered, his confidence eroding. The double laughed again, Lily's laugh but cruel and taunting, slicing through them like a blade. A cold wave washed over them, sowing seeds of doubt. Their friendship teetered, fracturing under the pressure. Lily tightened her grip on Alex's hand, her fingers firm and steadfast. "I'm right here," she said, her voice resolute despite the fear within her. "I'm not abandoning you, ever." Her words became a lifeline, a promise he clung to desperately. He met her gaze. Her eyes sparkled blue, bright and alive with determination. She anchored him amidst the tempest. Behind them, Jason and Mark bickered in hushed, tense tones, their voices strained. The double watched, its grin stretching wider, feeding on their unease. The room shrank, shadows deepening around them. A greater threat loomed nearer. He sensed it in his bones. The double halted its laughter abruptly, fixing its gaze on Alex intently. Its black eyes glowed faintly like embers in a void. The floor shuddered violently, rattling the debris strewn about. Blood surged up through the wood, red and viscous, pulsing rhythmically like a living heart. Thump, thump, thump. Alex felt the beat echo in his ribs, syncing with his own pulse. His key scalded his pocket, a searing heat against his thigh. He yanked it out swiftly, wincing at the burn. It radiated gold, brilliant as a flame against the gloom. "Stay back," he bellowed, his voice thundering with determination. He thrust his hands forward with force. Golden energy chains erupted forth, swift and ferocious. They shimmered with power, sturdy as steel cables, writhing like serpents unleashed. They crashed into the double with brutal impact, coiling tightly around its arms. It shrieked, a piercing, guttural cry that clawed at his senses. Alex yanked the chains back sharply, slicing deep into its form. Black ooze seeped out, thick and rancid, pooling at its feet. He swung his void blade next, the gleaming knife flashing in the dim light. It plunged through the double's chest with a sickening crunch. The creature crumpled to the floor, its smile fracturing into dust. Its body disintegrated, leaving an empty husk. No heart, no essence, merely a void exposed. Lily clapped swiftly, her hands trembling with excitement. "You did it!" she exclaimed, her voice alight with relief and pride. Her eyes sparkled, reflecting her faith in him. Jason retrieved his bat slowly, his movements hesitant. "One defeated," he said, his tone subdued, still grappling with doubt. Mark nodded once, a rare approval in his stern gaze. "Well done," he said, like a brother acknowledging a hard-fought victory. Yet the room offered no respite. The blood pulsed faster, louder, an insistent rhythm. The walls quivered, plaster dusting the air. A wild scream tore through from outside, sharp and desperate. Alex bolted to the window, his heart hammering relentlessly. The city descended into pandemonium. People shouted, fought, and bled in the streets below. More doubles emerged, multiplying rapidly like a plague. A woman cackled, echoing Lily's double, her face distorted with excessive teeth. A man pummeled a car with bloodied fists, denting the metal in fury. Another double seized a child from the pavement. The child screamed briefly before falling silent, vanishing into the turmoil. The doubles proliferated, spawning like shadows in a tempest. Alex's breath hitched painfully. "There are too many of them," he said, his voice cracking under the weight of despair. Lily rested her hand on his arm, her touch gentle yet resolute. "We'll fight them together," she said, her voice steady with courage. She pressed closer, her warmth dispelling his rising panic. Jason peeked out, his face ashen with dread. "There's no chance we'll prevail," he murmured, his hope fading. Mark gripped his knife tighter, his knuckles whitening. "We don't surrender," he declared, his eyes hard as flint. The blood on the floor swelled, lapping at the walls, climbing steadily upward. The apartment pulsed with life, hungry, wrathful, alive with malice. A deafening crash struck the door, splintering wood into fragments. Alex whirled around, his pulse surging. "They're here now," he said, his voice taut with urgency. Lily clasped his hand firmly. "We face them together," she said, her gaze locked on his, unwavering. Jason hefted his bat, swallowing hard against his fear. Mark pulled a bag of salt from his pack, his movements precise and prepared. The blood throbbed loudly, a menacing rhythm heralding the onslaught. The battle stormed in, unstoppable. The door shattered inward, wood splintering across the floor. A ghost lunged through, tall and gaunt, its arms elongated like gnarled branches swaying in the wind. Its face lacked eyes, displaying only black pits that oozed dark slime. It unleashed a scream, a sound so shrill it stabbed his ears like needles. Lily recoiled, her breath catching. Alex shoved her behind him swiftly. "Stay there," he yelled, his voice raw with desperation. Jason swung his bat with force, striking the ghost's arm. Crack! But the limb regenerated instantly, slick with black goo. Mark hurled his knife deftly. It buried itself in the ghost's chest, eliciting a spill of ooze. Yet the ghost laughed, a low, sinister chuckle, unfazed. More ghosts flooded in, clawing through the window with a shower of glass. They tore at the walls, breaking through plaster and wood. Shadows darted swiftly, too numerous to track. The apartment swarmed with them, a writhing mass of menace. Alex's hands trembled. He felt terror gripping him tightly. He glanced at Lily, her eyes wide yet resolute. "You can do this," she said softly, her voice slicing through the tumult. Her love flowed into him, warm and steadfast, lifting his spirit. Jason smashed another ghost, his bat thudding heavily. "Alex, act quickly!" he shouted, his voice high with alarm. Mark tossed salt. It struck a ghost's face, sizzling like fire on flesh, prompting a shriek of agony. "Now!" Mark barked, urgent and commanding. Alex raised the key high, its heat scorching his palm painfully. Golden light blazed forth, dazzling and intense. "Depart," he roared, his voice shaking the room. Energy chains exploded outward, rapid as lightning strikes. They pummeled ghosts with ferocity, ensnaring them tightly. Alex pulled with all his might. They burst into goo, splattering black across the battered floor. Yet more surged in, an unrelenting tide of claws and wails. They scrambled over one another, scratching and grasping. Alex's arms throbbed, weary from the strain. His back burned, soaked with blood from prior wounds. He sank to one knee, gasping for air, his strength waning. Lily dashed to him, her hands seizing his arm. "Get up, please," she urged, pulling him with determination. Her touch radiated warmth, reigniting his resolve. Jason batted a ghost away from her, his swing frantic. "Move," he yelled, breathless. Mark flung more salt, his aim true. "We're with you," he called, fierce and loyal. Alex rose slowly, leaning on Lily's support. He closed his eyes, focusing inward. A vast power stirred within him, new, untamed, surging like a river, unbound. The key flared brighter, searing his skin, but he ignored the pain. "No more," he bellowed, his voice resonating with authority. A tremendous light erupted from him, ghost banishment unleashed. Golden flames roared outward, deafening like a thunderstorm's roar. The ghosts screeched, their cries shrill and tortured. Their forms incinerated swiftly, dissolving into ash. The light blasted through the window, striking the streets below. Ghostly doubles outside shattered instantly, vanishing in a burst. The city hushed, a fleeting silence descending. Alex collapsed to his knees, his chest heaving with labored breaths. Lily enveloped him in a tight embrace, her arms secure around him. "You're incredible," she said, her voice soft and brimming with awe. Jason let his bat fall, the clatter loud in the stillness. "Remarkable," he breathed, exhaustion mingling with wonder. Mark offered a faint smile, a rare crack in his stoic mask. "Excellent work," he said, clapping Alex's shoulder gently with pride. But the apartment quaked violently, a deep tremor rattling its frame. The walls split wider, cracks spidering outward. Blood gushed upward, swift and crimson. Ghostly wails echoed from the distance, more approached, relentless. The battle persisted, far from its conclusion. Alex surveyed the room slowly, absorbing the devastation. The space lay in ruins. Glass littered the floor. Blood coated every surface in a grim sheen. Lily held his hand, her fingers smudged with grime. She mustered a small smile, weary yet genuine. "We're safe for now," she said, her voice warm despite the fatigue. Jason slumped to the floor, his shoulders sagging. "For the moment," he muttered, staring blankly at his boots. Mark peered out the window, his brow furrowed. "They'll return soon," he said, his tone low and foreboding. Then Lily gasped, a faint, pained sound that pierced the air. She pressed her hand to her chest, her smile vanishing instantly. She sank to her knees slowly, her body trembling uncontrollably. "Alex," she whispered, her voice thin and fading like a distant echo. Alex dropped beside her in a flash, panic seizing him. "Lily, what's wrong with you?" he asked, his words rushed and desperate. His heart froze, dread overwhelming him. She shivered violently, her breath shallow. "I feel empty inside," she said, her eyes enormous, glistening with fear. Her hand grew cold in his grasp, icy to the touch. Alex's stomach flipped, nausea surging within him. A wave of dizziness struck. Had the ghost banishment gone too far? Had it stripped away a piece of her soul inadvertently? Or did a ghost linger within her, unseen and sinister? Her gaze locked onto his, blue eyes but dulled, as if their light dimmed with each passing moment. "Help me, please," she murmured, her voice so faint he strained to hear it. The apartment darkened further, shadows swallowing the edges of the room. The blood pulsed loudly, a steady, ominous thump, 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 reverberating through the floor. Ghostly laughter rang out, distant yet closing in. Alex pulled her close, clutching her tightly against him. "I won't lose you, I swear," he said, his voice breaking with raw emotion. Yet doubt gnawed at his core, a relentless whisper. Was she slipping away already? Did the next horror claim her as its own? To be continued.